Hey life. Hey everybody. Tracy Allen, living in my truth. I told y'all I was just going to pop up. And today I decided to pop up so I could talk to my brothers and sisters. You know, I know it's holiday time and I know things can get a little shaky, sheery, crazy. You know what I mean? Naughty, but we got to stay nice. Y'all know what I'm saying? We got to stay clean. We have to, put our prayers up. You know what I mean? And put our prayers up for our still suffering addicts and alcoholics today. You know, I come back on because I'm just feeling it right now. I was laying down and I said, let me get up so I can go back on live because I tell them that I'm coming back on. So I need to get up and come back on. So here I am, up and ready. I'm just going to go through some things that, should be heard to the still suffering and to some family members. That can be aware of certain ways, certain, things you need to know about, kind of recognizing, some of the, how our ways get around this time of the year, how we start talking, how we start, acting, get in our moods, get a little moody, you know what I mean? Because of the fight and the battle that we have with addiction. Hey y'all. Hey Jackie, how you doing? And you too, Sheila. I love y'all. Thanks for supporting me too. Thanks for being on this live with me and helping others, you know what I mean? Because it's truly so from my heart. And I know there's a lot of things that everybody needs to know and recognize and understand, with, some of our friends, family, loved ones, that are out there, caught up in addiction, or even that is home fighting addiction, that just, something that's going to be in us, for the rest of our lives, and it could be much harder for some than it is others. I come on, not that I'm down on anybody, but just to give some awarenesses, that around this time of the year, I tell you, this thing get vicious. It get vicious, don't forget. I work around it, I see it, it could be some of people who has been doing so great and let the holidays get to them. That's just what disease does. It works through these type of things, the holidays, which is all part of people, places, and things, and we'll start shifting, a little bit, and you may not recognize it, we'll start changing, become argumentative or, try to talk like, I could do this, I could do that, I'm cool now, you know what I mean, I got these things in check now. What we cannot forget and what an addict cannot forget and an alcoholic is the fact that they're sick. I know there's a lot of people that fights with that and say, I've been clean 5 years now and I've been clean 10 years now. Well, hey, I've been clean off of cocaine 40 years now and I'm still scared of it. You know what I mean? This is how they taught me. They say, oh, that's old school stuff. Nah, that's a medication. That's the same way they, things that we have to remember and we have to know. It's a guard for us. It's a part of our armor that we put on. You know what I mean? And ready to fight whatever comes. This is why, in generational gaps, a lot of young folks, they, look at things different. They start changing things different. And in our young folks, you guys, if it's the person or people who is in this addiction are young, because see, it doesn't discriminate. It starts at 9 and 10 and 11 and 12. It's so out there to get, anymore. It's so easy to get anymore. There's times, especially the pills thing, volumes, all that stuff, that they think don't hurt them, that is just the beginning of a mind change and a mood change, you know what I mean? So you have to watch out for a lot of that, I come on just to, I'm going to just keep on, filling in, with everybody, them 12 steps, man. You got to have these 12 steps and keep them around you like your suit and armor, and keep it on, because out of all things or anything's disease will pop up on you, because it's there, you can't see it, you can only feel it. You know, and in order to feel it, you got to do what it takes to get to know it. You know what I mean? You'll become an addict. You'll become an alcoholic. So, you know, the ones that, you know, I come on here for to help you to understand how we work, how we function, how we do it. And I'm not saying everybody do it the same way I do it, because I can't say that. But I can say that the sickness that we have is actually the same. There's no doubt about that thing, you know, and how it works, you know. But, you know, I mean, like, I've been off that cocaine for 40 years, you know. My son is 40. And I've been off of that cocaine for 40 years. And I never get the desire to want it. You know what I mean? But sometimes my mind go back and think on it. And sometimes it feel like that I feel like I still feel it. You know, it teaches me, because I know that my power is no means no by any means necessary. I know that I walk this walk, you know, because I was chosen to walk the walk. You know what I mean? I promise my higher power that I will always give the information as much as I can to any still suffering addict, alcoholic today, and recovering, and families of recovering people. You know what I mean? To keep them aware. So what I'm on here for today is just some more education. To be aware is to be alive. You know what I mean? Don't allow this thing to pop up and make you think things was okay and things was nice and when it first started. No, you're the enemy. You know what I mean? You're the enemy. You're always going to be the enemy. So it was nothing good from the very beginning. Even that first hit that I took on that pipe, that was good. It was the beginning of my death trail. You know what I mean? And it turned me out just like it turned anybody else out. You know, and I try to stay alert. I try to stay alert, and I try to keep my armor on at all times. I don't care where I'm at. You know what I mean? Like now is you know, it's holiday time, and people are, you know, ready to get it in, ready to celebrate, ready to have a good time. And you know, these type of holidays, Christmas, New Year's, is all that. That's always a bunch of drinking, and there's always a bunch of getting high. You know what I mean? And drugging. You know, and some of us think that it's okay for us to be around it. Now, what works for you, it works for you. You know, but for me, I choose not. You know what I'm saying? Because even going out into clubs, you know, at this particular time of the year, hey, everybody in there to keep you safe. Everybody ain't in your surroundings to, you know, to make sure that you don't drink or you don't drug. You got to be the one to make that choice. Because if you let disease in and let it speak to you, you know, it will weigh you down. I'm telling you, it will make you feel like, you know what, I know this ain't gonna hurt. You know, I'm cool. I can handle it now. Once you become an addict, once you become a junkie, you know, once you become an alcoholic, none of that works. None of it works. It will take you back right where you left off. You know, any addict or alcoholic that you know will tell you the same thing. Most important thing in order to stay clean is to make sure that you're changing your thinking. That's the lock and key to it. You have to change your thinking so that's your suit and armor is what I'm talking about by when I say changing your thinking. That's the suit and armor. You know what I mean? You have to always have on and always be alert and to be aware. You know, that subconscious mind of yours is yours, you know, and can't nobody else hear it but you. You know, nobody else can squeeze in but you. It'll sometimes allow us as a, you know, a person who knows you can look at, you know how they say, I can tell something is in your mind, or I can tell something is going on. If that thought of using and drinking and try to make yourself believe that you okay now and you can do that, you need to share. You need to share with that person that those are the thoughts that's coming in your mind. And I just want to, you know, remind everybody that there's a meeting every day. I do have a list of meetings in the room. That's just for around these areas. I'm in Delaware, but it's around the Pennsylvania area. And if you need to have any of that information, just inbox me, and I would truly give it to you. Matter of fact, I'm going to try to put it on Facebook. I'm going to put some of them, like, you know how they show on the page on Facebook around this time to put out there for the ones who are still struggling, you know, and feeling weak, you know what I mean? So in our minds, we'll start getting sick. That's where it starts. It starts up here. You know what I mean? And for us, getting sick is wearing masks, getting irritable, mood changes, going in deep thoughts, especially if we working on something. If we working on something, you know, this is why journals and writing is always important. Always. You know, I still journal and I still write to this day. Hey, Leslie. You know, so when these things start changing, you know what I mean, and you start seeing little weird stuff. I mean, the first thing they'll say is, "Why are you coming at me like that?" You know what I'm saying? Or, "I ain't even thinking about nothing like that." Just talk to them. Period. You know what I mean? You got to become very aware and alert yourself of a person if you're living with a person that's dealing with drugs and alcohol as well, you know, and they're in their early stages of sobriety. That voice is still loud. Believe me when I tell you that voice is still loud. You know, that voice is always loud. Like even now with me, and like I said, the number of years that I've shared, hey girl, that I've shared, you know, that thing still try to crash through. You know what I'm saying? And then it try to make me feel like, you know, man, I remember I used to do this and I had this time, you know what I mean? And it was that time. I don't even like to think about that. Reason why? Because I know that those times weren't good times. You know what I mean? I know today by taking inventories on myself and digging deep and going back and look at what it was and how it tricked me and how it had me so up to dewey and so excited. And at the same time, this thing is trying to kill me and trying to get me to become unmanageable as just what it did. You know what I mean? We look at things real deep. You know, people in recovery like myself, we look at these things real deep, and you have to take that inventory and go back on that inventory, you know what I mean, and say, wow, you know, these things weren't good things, these things was bad things. And one thing that made me happy connected to what made me bad and made me feel worse. You know what I mean? Which almost took my life, you know, that took my sanity, you know what I mean? Stripped me of my emotions, you know what I'm saying? You know, I like to kick this out. I mean, I do it with my clients all the time. You know what I mean? It's like, y'all gonna get tired of me. You can get tired of me, but you better recognize that sickness. You better understand that it's cunning, baffling, and powerful, and it is always there. I was saying earlier, you know, they say, you know, because you got these years that you're not sick no more, you don't have nothing to worry about. From me to you, don't believe that. To each his own who do. But from me to you, don't believe that. It is always there. This is why people that you know been clean for forever end up picking up a drink or a drug, and it takes them out. It takes them out. Some of us know somebody who has been there or done that, or is on the verge of doing that. Do not trust disease. Do not trust that voice. That voice is cunning, baffling, and powerful. And that voice will always do what it's set out to do to take you out. You know, so it's the challenge of living or not living when it comes to using or staying sober. You know, it's a battle, you know, for some. And like I said, wearing masks, and some are sicker than others, and you can't unmask certain things, and then disease is still trying to come up from out of remission, you know what I mean, because you made the choice to say, no, I'm not going to do this anymore, and you do it every day, and you pray every day, you know what I mean, but that voice still won't give up. It still won't give up. It, like I said, it'll come through people, it'll come through places, and it'll come through things. That means everything. That means everything and everybody around you. You know, I go to some friends' parties, you know, they drink, you know what I mean, and do all of that, and I'm like, I'm sitting in a chair. You know, basically, and then before, I used to be the life of the party. But one, I love this person. Two, I feel like I'm okay to go. Three, when it's time to go, it's time to go for me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing it. I'm not going to challenge my recovery. I'm not going to give it up for nothing or nobody. I love my children. I love all my family. But when it comes, when they having these things, you know what I mean? I know when I got to go, I got to go. And sometimes I shouldn't even be. You follow? I shouldn't even be. These are the type of thoughts that I'm telling you. Not that I want to get high with them. It's just the fact that my mind will say, all right, Tracy, enough. You came, you know it's time for you to go. You follow what I'm saying? I don't want the thoughts to come to my mind. I watch everybody have a good time, you know what I mean? But then in my real sight of what I'm saying as a recovering addict with the drinking and all that kind of stuff on, then it started going through my head like, wow, you know, no matter how little, how less, how more, how less, you know what I mean? Drinking does the same thing all the time. It does not have a boundary. You know what I'm saying? And for me, I just find it disgusting. You know, I find smoking weed, all that stuff disgusting. But again, what works for me don't work for somebody else. And I have to make my own choices and my own decisions on what I'm going to do, you know, when I'm around it. It ain't my house, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, it's like a damn if I do, damn if I don't type situation. I'm only being honest, you know what I mean? Because that's what living in my truth is all about. You know, so again, if I take myself to a place, it's no different if I take myself to a restaurant, you know, or I take myself to a club, you know, I can't tell them, you know, well, I'm a recovering addict, certain things I don't want to go on around me, or certain things, you know, can you take this down, or can you have them not drink that or not drink this? I can't do that. That's the reality. That's wisdom to know the difference. You know what I mean? So you have to get this thing in your head right, you know, and have to be wise and always be aware of the voice. You know, the voice, like I said, at happy times, it'll come to you. Sad times, it'll come through you. You know, you know, any type of emotional thing. Was don't forget it used to have total control of the emotions. You know what I'm saying? And that's the weakness. That is the weakness. You know, I enjoy seeing people when I'm out, you know, and I know, again, what I can do, what I should be doing, and what I shouldn't be doing. You know, so you got to stay strong, y'all. You got to stay alert, you know, and keep your armor on. You know, people have a hard time with alcohol through fun. They have a hard time with alcohol, thinking that, you know, and drugs, that, you know, that's what make the time fun. Or makes it, you know, happy time. Nah, the desires of feeding disease make you happy because you're feeding it. You understand what I'm saying? You're going to feed it so much that you're going to forget how much it's been fed. You know, that was a good one. How much it's been fed, you know, and then before you know it, you blacked out. You follow? And then things start happening. You don't remember how, when, you know, why, you know, things happen. You know, but what you do know, and you got to understand, is you was lit. Period. You was lit. You know, so I like it better on this side, just to be honest, for me. And I know that, you know, the people who come on and watch Living in My Truth is on here, you know, and they feel like I feel, you know, on certain things. But we do get put in a predicament where, like, you know, if just say, you know, I have the LNMT award, honorary award to all the recovering addicts and alcoholic and the brave people who comes on and share their strengths and hope and helping people any way that they possibly can, because that's brave. That is really brave for people to come sit on this couch and share, you know, their inner selves and their stories, you know, like myself, you know, in my surroundings of work. We share some deep things. We share a lot of things, you know, and we help each other not feel bad about the things that we done, and then come to try to help them understand, you know, the viciousness of alcohol and drugs, you know, and we introduce you to, you know, the 12 steps, you know, and give you information and education on how you can, you know, start to, you know, forgive yourself and feel better about yourself, you know, and how to live, you know, to come to believe a normal lifestyle, you know. But you have the people that are still stuck in that life and feeling like, you know, because you don't look worse than the other person, that is because that other person is not strong enough. You know, they're weak and you know, you're stronger than them, you know. So, you know, I call that the social high living. I talk this shit because I lived all of it. I talk this shit because I've done all of it. and been around all of it. And my decision today just come out that no is no by any means necessary, for all of it, and I'm not going to say that, to you, you say, well, you was having fun. I mean, well, I thought I was having fun. You know what I mean? Absolutely, because that's what my mind thought. That's what my emotions thought. But today I know it was dying. I was dying. You know what I mean? It was killing me. I come to that decision. I come to that point in my life because it took me there, to a point where it was either my life or it was just keep on and die, period, point blank. And I didn't want to die that way. You know what I mean? I want to die. If I die, I want to die because of anything other than drugs and alcohol. Trust me. I don't want to kill myself. I don't want to commit suicide. Some of you are not there. Some of you have not been where I have. You know what I mean? But to you anyway, from the heart, you know what I mean? Just stay alert. You know what I mean? As alert as you can to stay alive because it kills. And it doesn't matter how much you have, or who you doing it with, and all that kind of stuff. The drugs is the drugs and the alcohol is the alcohol. Like I said, they come in flavors, shapes, pretty bottles, the whole 9 yards, the losing eyes in your head, like, what is that stuff? Shoot, I can't even think of it right now. I always do that. The name of the alcohol, because alcohol is something that I wasn't really big on. Henny is better than vodka. You know what I'm saying? Man, this is just all in the mind, all in the head. It's all bad. It ain't no good in any of them. You know what I mean? But back to protecting the addict and the alcohol. Y'all know I can roam and I can go and I can roll up anywhere. If sometimes we think that we can help people and say, okay, I'm going to be with you. I'm going to make sure that you don't do it. You have no control of that person. I'm just letting you know. You have no control of that person. If that person is keeping his word and saying, okay, you just make sure that I'm all right. You know what I mean? And you keep your word to that person. I'm going to tell you, disease is stronger than you. Disease, you have no choice of it because you can't hear disease and you can't see disease and you can't talk to disease, and the disease that's in ourselves. You follow what I'm saying? We can't, we hear it, we live it, we sleep it, the whole 9 yards. And at the end of the night, that person done said, F you, you know what I mean? And go on and do what they do. That's not helping them. I'm just letting you know. Sometimes that can be a point of how we lie because we have your trust back and you can believe me, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that. The mask that will come back upon our faces will be very convincing, so for just some advice, just be aware and be alert of these type of things. And it may not happen for you or with you or for your loved one that is still suffering with disease today. But I'm just throwing some things out there for the ones that don't recognize that, you know what I mean, and don't see that. I'm not saying that you can't believe them, or believe in a person, but as a person that lives with a person with an addiction, you need to know these things because sometimes just you being convinced that that person is okay can be bad for them as well. I wouldn't agree to any type of get high or drinking or any of that kind, even the wine or the old duels and all that kind of stuff. No means no by any means necessary. And that's very important for you to know as well as the addict or the alcoholic, the person that is sick. No means no. You got to stick your grounds and you got to stand your grounds because this disease is vicious. It's cunning, baffling, and powerful. And if they have been through, that road to hit rock bottom, you don't want them to ever to touch drugs or alcoholic again. It is no parts that they'll be okay. They will not be okay. They will not be okay. Okay, physically, mentally, or spiritually. And we fight very hard to get these three things back in our lives so that we can live a normal lifestyle. It is not simple and it is not easy. And if you have watched somebody that's dealing with this type of situation, continue to watch them and continue to pray for them and continue to allow them to know no means no by any means necessary. There is no if, but, or maybe. or I know I can, or I'll do this. No, stay on that track. Stay on that track is no. Keep them straight. Help them stay straight. Remind them. Sometimes they'll even throw on you, you just don't understand. Well, I understand enough that no means no. You just pass it back. You follow what I'm saying? That's why it's good for you to know these things about us. It's good for you to know these things on how disease and how recovery works on us. You know, if you're not educated on the matter, I'll say that one more time. You know what I'm saying? Just one more time. If you're not educated on this matter, you know, sometimes you need to just stand your grounds. Stand your grounds. No, don't go for all that. I can, I will, this is why, and this is how. No means no when it comes to a suffering addict or an alcoholic. No means no. There is no getting better to drink or to drug. You're not going to get better. You're going to get worse. And it's going to take you back to where you left off before, because once you get it and give it and say yes, it's over. It's over. You're going to go back to where you left off. It instantly happened like this. Because by the time they go back into the ways that they used to be, you're going to be like, man, that shit just happened. It just happened. Sometimes we can say things that, you know, around this time, you know, for people who are struggling, and things that you say to them might send them back out there. You know what I mean? If you're the type that stay on top of them and always prowling on them, you know what I mean? You have to accept these things yourself. You know that you cannot change, and change things that you can in yourself, just to have the wisdom to know the difference, how to deal with a person like ourselves. You know, sometimes you could be the reason why somebody want to have a drink again or get high. You know what I mean? You have to let that person do what they do, support that person, but always be aware of what that person can do and what it goes back into being. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's a job for you too, and it's a life for you too if you choose to live, you know, the life with an addict or a recovered addict or an alcoholic. You know, it comes with this. You know what I'm saying? I like to introduce the 12 steps to you if you don't know anything about the 12 steps, and to continuously read these 12 steps and get to know these 12 steps with a person that is you're dealing with, that's still, you know, suffering and living the life of the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous. That's what saved my life. That's what saved a whole lot of our lives out here, you know, and this is the medication that we call in recovery our medication. You know what I mean? So we must take this medication every day. It's just like your blood pressure. You got to take the medicine every day. You must take this medication every day. And you can never forget that it has to be taken, that it has to be here and here, you know, because that's what keeps you locked in with no. No means no by any means necessary. I say that 1,000 times because it's needed to be said, you know. And the first step is we admit we are powerless over alcohol and drugs, that our lives have become unmanageable. Unmanageable, yes. We become crazy, y'all call sick, junkies, losers, you know what I mean? You know, drunks, you know, whatever. But through the whole time you sit there and you let it happen with them. Some of you do, because you don't know the power and the weakness of addiction and alcohol and drugs. You know, when we get into recovery, you know what I mean? Call them loved ones, you know, who's struggling, that are not the same people that they used to be. You know what I'm saying? You know, if you go into like arguments with us and, you know, you tell them, you know, the holidays coming up, you know how you be, you know, you be trying to, you know, do this or trying to change, you know what I mean? Go over the 12 steps with them. You know what I'm saying? Get some literature out, like you do the Bible. You know, when you guys want to, you know, get into your religion, You know, this is like a religion to us, the 12 Steps of Narcotics Anonymous. You know, go over it with them. You know, talk about it with them. You know, keep them reminded. You know, pray with them. You know what I'm saying? Pray with them. You know, and I'm really saying this for the ones who is dealing with this right now, because I know out here in this world, it's not you, it's plenty others. You know what I mean? Because this is the round of times that disease becomes its strongest. You know, with the ones of us who are trying to battle it, and it tries to, you know, strike the hardest blow, you know, to you. Try to get into these 12 steps with your significant other or your friend or your whomever it is that you know that's in, you know, struggling and in recovery. That help us. It really does. It help us that you understand what we're understanding and what we're still trying to understand. Like I share with my husband, you know what I mean? And he never saw me on cocaine a day of his life. You know what I mean? But I let him know. You know what I mean? Because it's my truth. You know, and when I tied with him, I wanted him to know the truth. You know, so nobody has to, you know, give him a recap of my life. I gave it to him. You know what I mean? And you either going to, you know, accept that or it's just not going to work. Let's be friends. But it's still not going to stop me from my growth. It's not going to stop me from my truth, because you deserve to know. You know what I mean? Things that, you know, captured me in my life like that, you know, because I've done some things, you know, through that thing, you know, so that was just part of my honesty, you know, and it let me feel great. It made me feel great, you know. It's another part of setting me free, you know, and I didn't have to live that, you know, because that's considered a lie if I don't, you know what I mean, tell for me. You know what I'm saying? Because this is what my belief is. This is what my info, you know, cited to me to say, you know, just tell the truth. You follow? And the truth is going to set you free. Because the most important person, even out of me and his relationship, is me. You know? I have to stay straight. I have to be right. I have to do all these things. You know, I don't want it to become a burden to you, because it ain't never going to stop. I'm always going to be living the life of a recovering addict, you know, from this point on in my life, you know, and that don't mean that it has to change you. You follow what I'm saying? But it allow you to know me and who you loving and who you loving on. You know what I'm saying? Because it is no problem for me, and for you to know this about me is setting me free to know that this man is going to love me for who I am today, not what I was yesterday. I'm just putting that out there to y'all. You know what I mean? Because, you know, that's just like some people saying, you know, oh, she was on drugs. Hey, Daryl! What's up, my brother? They was like, you know, they were saying she was on drugs. You know what I mean? She used to do this. She used to be out there tricking. She used to do this and she used to do that. You know, people look at you and be like, nah, man, don't mess with her. Don't this or don't that. You know, I want y'all to be aware that there alone can put another person right back out in the street. That can make a person lose their self-esteem because disease done work through you with your mouth. You know what I mean? And you don't know where she at and where she, you know, you're not respecting what she trying to do or he trying to do for himself. You just talking. You just on the outside talking. You know, and 9 out of 10, you don't even know more of what you think you know. You know, but how come you just can't see the change that's in that person? You know what I mean? Show some love. You know what I'm saying? That's what's wrong with us now. You know, if that person has made change in their life as a junkie into making a change into a person who's becoming the scene, to look normal and doing normal things again, you should be talking about that part of the person, not the part of the person that was. You know, because today we fight for who we are today. That's what we did yesterday. You know what I mean? And if you can look up a person that you think that was so down and out and such a junkie or such an alcoholic, and they got themselves together today and looking better than you and doing better than what you doing, that's called hating if you ask me. You know, that means that you like to see the person when they was down instead of looking at the person for who they are now up. You know what I mean? You know, we go through hell in our lives. We do, in our addictive lives. We go through uncontrollable hell. You know what I mean? And it's drowning in hell. You know what I mean? They say you going to hell when you die. You know, shit, you be dying going through hell when you become an alcoholic or a drug addict. It tears you apart. It takes you into land. That's where it takes you. And if you fight and you strive and you learn how to walk out your door and go around that hole and keep on moving, you know what I mean? Hell, people gonna not see much of that, but they're gonna see much of you out there drowning. You know what I mean? So when you choose these people that you choose to be around for these holidays, make sure it's people who you know for a fact loves you. You know what I mean? Make sure that it's a place that you rather go, that you know you will be safe. You know, no matter where there's drugs and alcohol, we're not safe, even if we make it through that day. Because disease will allow you to feel like you're strong enough, and you can do this again and again and again and again, and you ain't got nothing to worry about. My suggestion is to always keep yourself in that suit of armor. My suggestion is to always know that disease come through people, places, and things. You know what I mean? In the festiest way, you know, in a way where people just, you know, smile and laugh and looking at you, you know what I mean? People think you look so good now that they'll offer you the drink, or they'll offer you the drug that wasn't the drug that you used, or the drink that you used to drink, and you make you feel like, man, you can get through this. You're going to be all right with this. You know what I mean? Don't let disease work. Don't let it work. The way it worked for you to put you down is the way it's going to always work if you let it out. Damn, that was good. You know what I just said. And I'm just saying what I have to say to myself all the time. You know what I mean? I'm just sharing with you what I always share with myself, you know, and talk to myself about. You know what I mean? To make me a stronger person and to be alive and aware of how disease works and what it does. That's how scared I am of that shit. That's how scared I am of that shit. I am no challenge to sickness. Sickness, when sickness got you, it got you. It's just point blank. Well, when that disease got you, boy, that thing don't let up on you. It don't make you, it just take you right back to where you left off and kick your butt all over again. And you know what them people gonna say? I told you this wouldn't last. I told you she wasn't gonna be like this. I told you she was gonna go right back out there. You know what I mean? Well, I'm not trying to be one of those people. I'm not trying to be one of the peoples that you had your bets on and all that kind of stuff. These are the dealers and these are the people that know me in the street and all that. Oh, she gonna be right back out there again. They all do. Well, I haven't got back out there yet. You know what I mean? Because I keep this strong armor on that I'm sharing with you. You know, because I keep myself aware and I keep myself alive, and I'm always aware of the voice that's in my head. I know that I'm a sick person when it comes to drugs. I know that, and alcohol. I know that I have a disease that's cunning, baffling, and powerful. You know, no matter how good I look, how well I'm doing, all the things that I have, you know, I only have these things because no means no, by any means necessary. By any means necessary, you know. And because I have me back, but for the grace of God who's given me my serenity, you understand what I'm saying? I am so graceful. I am so at my peace, but that don't mean sickness still not in me. That don't mean that disease done went away and it's gone. I put Trey in remission so I can know where she's at. You know what I mean? She just don't go kaboom and be gone. Nah, she alive. She's still alive. She's going to always be alive. And I'm going to always have my 12 steps. I'm going to always have my literature. You know what I mean? I'm going to always journal. I'm going to always do this because this is what works for me. This is how I keep myself alive. This is how I keep myself loving myself. This is how I keep myself able to love you, you know, and to love my family and my children and all the haters and, you know what I mean? You know, all the people who don't wish well for me, who has not allowed themselves to forgive me, and all, I pray for you. I pray for all of them, you know what I mean? But I will not allow disease come through you to come through me and bring me back to that devilish hole again. I'm not going to walk in that hole, not today, I'm not. You know what I mean? I still take things one day at a time, you know, the way that it was instructed for me to do. You know, a thing about recovery is, you know, like coming up in the generations, young folks don't like directives. They don't like like directions. You know, even some of us old folks, because being under the life of disease, you know, we don't follow directions. We don't have no directives. The only directives we have is one voice, and that voice is disease that will have us do whatever it says, when it says, how it says, and why you're doing it. You know what I mean? It's gonna make you feel why you're doing it, because you're not feeding. And if you don't feed it, if you don't feed it, you know, it's gonna make you hurt. You're gonna go into pain, a whole lot of pain, undescribable pain. You're gonna go into rage. You're gonna start doing things you just wouldn't think you would do without the control of saying that one word, two letters, one syllable, no. You know, it erases that from your head, that you can't say that anymore. You don't even know what it means anymore when you're under the influence. That word don't even come in the perimeter or anything. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's just like, I'm a hustle, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do all the things that I said I would never do, you know. And about time you know it, it's either your funeral or you gone mentally, just period. You know, and that's the crazy part. It could take you mentally, period, and yet still make you get high. That's some sick, crazy stuff, I'm telling you. And you'll still get high. You see a lot of people out here, y'all. We know a lot of them. Y'all know, I know a lot of them that's still out here just as gone as gone can be, but they still hunger for the drug of choice or the alcohol, you know, because it has ruined the brain. It has broken every piece of the puzzle up in their head till that's the only thing that they're going to be able to function with. You know, I just don't want to see any of us going in that direction anymore, because there's so many, you know, and in a lot of our families and lives and neighborhoods and, you know, where we live, we see that a whole lot, you know, and a lot of times it'd be people who had it going on, people that you would never thought, you know. Like I said, this sickness don't discriminate. It's cunning, baffling, and powerful. Hey, Dwayne. It's cunning, baffling, and powerful. I got my other phone hooked up now. I can barely see the one on the podcast, but I can see y'all coming in, you know, now on my other phone. This is the only way I know how to do this thing, you know, and it works for me. And simply, it must be working for y'all, you know. But that 12 step, you know, the first step is, you know, for me, the first step really is accepting to do these 12 steps, you know, accepting to want to take myself through this thing. That's what I called it at the beginning, you know. And when we see it as the suffering addict or alcoholic, you'd be like 12 steps and all the words you got to read. It seems like that's a whole bunch of stuff. You know what I mean? Disease will make you feel like, man, that's too much. I ain't doing all that. And it has a tricky way of having you, even when you accept it and you start working on the 12 steps, you know, you'll start reading them and going through them, and then you'll see where, you know, shoot, I feel like this already. I do this already. You know what I mean? You all down there on step 8 or step 12 or step 5. Now you got to start with acceptance. You got to start first to accept these 12 steps, because this is going to be what's going to help you for the rest of your life. These are things that you have to become honest with, willing with, and commit to living by. You know what I'm saying? And the first thing is we admit that we are powerless over the drugs and alcohol. That's the biggest step of them all. You know what I mean? One of the biggest steps of them all. You know, it's like, goodness gracious, you know, you can tell yourself 1,000 times, hey, Teresa, you can tell yourself 1,000 times that I'm all right, I'm going to be all right, I can do this, this is cool. You know what I mean? This ain't that bad. That is failing, y'all. That is convincing yourself that the alcohol or the drug is not really that bad and it's not changing you when you know that it has changed you. You follow what I'm saying? This is the zigzag thing that disease does to make you believe that it's okay to do what you're doing. And it won't allow you to see what you're doing or where you're going off at. You know what I mean? But others will start seeing it. And then it'll make you fight through people for getting in your business business or making you think that you this or you think that you that. And then it'll have you feeling like, you know, you weak or you stupid or you a punk or you this or you that. You know what I'm saying? And then you start feeling like they're the enemy when that's the truth that's coming to your light that used to be on, but now the light is out. I like that too, how I put that. That was good. See, when you speak from the heart and you speak from your soul and you speak from the truth of recovery, these things happen to you. I never thought in a million years I'd be on live, you know, sharing these type of things. But guess what? God gave me the walk, and I'm going to walk the walk. You know what I mean? Because I promised him that. You know, and the more that I walk the walk and the more that I learn and I come to believe, it only makes me better. You know, and it keeps me alive. And it helps me to help people to stay alive. I just wanted to throw that in there. But that's what it do. You know what I mean? It'll make you feel like that you're this is not you. You know, I can stop this. I'm going to stop this. This is not going to do this. You know, and before you know it, you can't stop. You can't stop. And now you get to the point where you can't stop and you don't realize that people have been trying to help you anyway. You know what I mean? So those are the emotions that disease just took, like the top of your spine back here, and just ripped you of them. You know what I mean? Now you don't have the capability of feeling nothing. Now you don't have the strength to feel nothing. All you have is the focus on the beast, which is called disease. Now you're going to live in that dis-ease life. DIS/EASE. You're going to feel every bit of it. You're going to have no control of it. And you're going to be the worst person to yourself because you don't forget who you are. You follow? You'll forget who you are. And then the devil, I'll say the devil, because that's what disease is, has control of your life. Because he's going to strip you of God too. He's going to turn you against God. He's going to make you think God don't exist. You know, he's going to make you think that God don't love you. You know what I mean? Well, what is God? God should be working with me right now. God works with you every single day, all day. I felt the same way. I felt the same way. Had me turn my back on God. I hate the little sucker. I can't stand her. You know what I mean? You know, but God is a forgiving God, and he forgave me. He forgave me for all that talk, that bad talk I was talking about, you know, because he knew that I had a sickness. He knew that I had a challenge of his enemy. He knew that I had a disease that's cunning, baffling, and powerful, and he took care of me through that whole ordeal until I was able to help myself on this physical part of the world. You know, so it's a lot. It's a minute. But these 12 steps is the reason why I found my sanity, you know, and once I admitted that my life was unmanageable, you know, it allowed me to come to believe in a higher power greater than myself, you know, which is God. Hey, Val, I end up turning back around, you know what I mean? Because I had people, you know, at a place, you know, doing things which is called rehab, Better House, you know, used to be over Crozier, you know, and Reverend LaBert Todd helped me out. You know what I mean? My sister Cheryl helped me out with prayer. You know, Doc Watson helped me out with management and getting, you know, become more manageable of my life. You know, with information and education that he has and have lived with and dealt with. Even Reverend LaBert Todd, you know what I mean? As a recovering addict and alcoholic. You know, so they helped me to pretty much restore a higher power, whom's God in my life, you know, to start believing in and asking for forgiveness from him, you know, and I just started doing it every day. You know, I started, you know, journaling every day. You know, I started listening, you know, and I was able to hear, after a while, because sickness didn't allow me to hear about all these meetings and all that stuff when I first went in rehab. I wasn't trying to hear that stuff. That wasn't for me. I wasn't going, I wasn't doing nothing. They said, well, you going to get your little butt up out of here. And they didn't say it like that. You know what I'm saying? And I know I was homeless. I know I had nowhere to go. I came off the street. You know what I mean? So, and I definitely wanted to get my welfare back on, you know what I mean, and my food stamps. I thought I was the bomb when I had that welfare and food stamps in my addiction. Shoot, that was a dependency. I couldn't wait for the first of the month. You know what I'm saying? To get that, even though it was gone probably in like about 3 hours in that day. It probably was all gone by then, but it was something to look forward to. Z told me it's something to look forward to. You'll be all right, and I was all right, because after that, it made me do everything else, and that was step 2. I came to believe that a power greater than myself, could restore my sanity, and then, I had to learn how to make the decision, that God is God, and God works and God is real. You know what I mean? So, and by choosing my higher power to be God, I had to learn about him too, and to get the understanding with him, and again, these same people, helped me with that, because I learned how to listen. And once I learned how to listen, that means that I was getting back in check with my emotions, because what they were telling me made me cry. And I didn't cry, I don't cry. What they were telling me made me cry. What they was telling me made me think, where I couldn't think before going to rehab. Because disease had total control of my brain. You know what I mean? And it was them helping me to allow myself to get back into my emotions, my feelings that disease had control of. So once I got there, that step 3 was like made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understand him. Now, they gave me an option to, if getting to know God for God wasn't the answer for me, well, something has to be, So this is why we keep that open for an option for people, because we try not to base it off of a religious program and say that it has to be God. It can be the God of your choice, or whomever you feel is that one that can help you the way that my higher power, God, helps me. So we never throw that on anybody or make anybody feel that way. And I think that's fair, because when, like atheists, they look at us like we believe in God, the God thing, like we believe in them not believing in God. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you give that person the opportunity, and you have to allow yourself to get to me through these 3 steps. You know what I'm saying? And those 3 steps is what brought me to somewhat of my sanity. It just made me think. And, in the rehab, we had to work on these steps. You know what I'm saying? We had to work on those steps. And until we can explain ourselves, on how we felt about it, and, anything that I said was better than I thought before I went and found help with my addiction. My sister, my mom used to try to talk that to me all the time. I wasn't listening. You know what I mean? That wasn't my interest. I wasn't listening. I just did it because I had to sit there and listen. You know what I'm saying? But was I getting it? No. Was I listening? Not the way that I know how to listen. Not the way that I listened to step 1, 2, and 3 from the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous. And then once I got through that part, they said I had to, I started making sense of things. You know what I mean? That's what we do. We'll start making sense of things, and we'll start speaking more. We'll start sharing things that we don't share period. We start, you know, the things that we're ashamed of, the things that has happened in life, the things that is happening in life, the things that we've done to people, the things that, you know, the caring and the love for your children and, you know, for, you know, everything that we've done. You know what I mean? So it's called taking a moral inventory of self. You know, I am still on that step to this day. You know what I mean? I think that that's something for me that I always have to do, you know, in order to keep myself loving myself. And that's just becoming honest with myself, you know. And I tell everybody that. They be like, Miss T, where are you at on the steps? I said, oh, I do. I work all 12 steps. I said, but I study the most step 4. You know what I mean? Because step 4 is a part that keeps me where I'm at. You know what I mean? It also connects me with serenity, the serenity prayer. You know, God grant me the serenity to accept things I cannot change. You know, the courage to change things I can. And the most important is the wisdom to know the difference. You know what I mean? That is something that I'm saying 24/7 a day, all the time. You know, especially dealing with people. You know what I mean? Dealing with places and dealing with things, even when I'm home. You follow? I have to keep that one. I got to keep those two connected for me because that's like the voltage that goes together in me and won't allow people, places, and things to unlock my thinking. You know what I'm saying? I think of it like that, you know. And that is step 4, is made a searching, fearless, moral inventory of ourselves. You know, now making that searching, a fearless moral inventory was things that I suppressed and I had to bring out of me. You know, that did something to me. You know, or I did something to somebody. You know. It would be painful sometimes. It will be, you'd be scared like, nah, I ain't going to say that. I ain't going to tell that one. You know what I mean? But you always have to have in mind, you know, with recovery that you must get the truth out. Because the truth is going to set you free. You know, it'll have you dig deep. You be digging way back. And so if I'm still coming up with things, hell, I done found out my son is not his father, the chosen father that I just knew you couldn't tell me one way or the other. You know what I mean? So life be life, and this thing works. This thing, you know, I had to take an inventory again. I had to go all the way back and think, where did this come into play? You know, because I forgot. I didn't even think about that. You know, I thought beyond his father. You know what I mean? After his father. You know what I mean? Never even thought of all that. You know, but when I actually settled down from the shock and the anger, you know, and how I was being, you know, misled and looked at, you know, through all this, that wasn't nothing but my sickness to me. That was my sickness trying to get me. That was my sickness trying to come down on me and say, you know what I'm saying, you need to be ashamed of yourself or this or that or this and that. Look, my honesty and my truth is I did not know. I had no clue that this person was the father of my son. I had no clue. I know for sure, for me, that it was his father, the alleged father. You know, why would I wait all these years, you know what I mean, and hold something like that? When I done heard my father disown me 1,000 times, these are the things I said I would never do. You know what I'm saying? I honestly, truly, in my soul, would have never, ever thought of anything like that. Ever. Me or my baby's alleged father. You know? But it happened. You know what I mean? It happens. You know? And then the emotions started shaking and the anger, the resentment, you know what I mean? Coming at me, you know, and all that kind of stuff. That's nothing. I had to say, look, Tracy, slow down. Take an inventory and take your time. And I still couldn't find it. I couldn't dig deep enough to find that because in my heart, it just didn't exist. I just couldn't find it. So I had to turn it over to the Almighty, just like he tells me to. I turned it over to the Almighty. And let me tell you something. For the strength of my son did an ancestry test. And that's how we found out. It wasn't nothing but my higher power. Because he know that the truth for me was the light. He know, in spite of what anybody else feel, think, even to this day, he knew that thing was an open door for sickness, because I was going through all kinds of emotions, heavy emotions. And the craziest part of it is, the emotion that got me the worst is that I didn't have a clue. Not a clue. And when that ancestry thing came through, it connected us with people who connect us with this one, connect us with that. And that's when my son asked me, do you know this person? I'm like, yeah, my first husband's name was Mike. I said, nah, definitely not Mike. Me and Mike didn't have any children. And then he got connected with somebody who was supposed to have been his half-sister, brother, and then that's how it all became open to the light, And I was like, what? And guess what, y'all? I went back in my head, I was taking inventory, and I said, Jesus Christ, that did happen. See, for me, disease will try to get me any way that it possibly can, because I have her in remission. Her job was to hurt me, make me suffer, kill me. I wasn't supposed to remember nothing. When I started remembering stuff, it weakened the sickness. You know what I mean? So some things is just barricaded in you sometimes, and it'll come up in the damnedest ways. But you got to always be aware of it. I do, in a recovery way. I always think recovery about everything that I try to handle, because it puts me where I am, that has made me who I am. So I can never give up on that. I'm going to always use my tools. I'm going to always, go through these steps. I went right back to these steps, y'all. I went right back to them. And I went right back to journaling. You know what I mean? Until I found that peace, and that answer came alive, So, yes, my higher power is God. And yes, he's mighty. And yes, I believe in him, And yes, not today. I'm not going to ever say that he doesn't exist. Because for me, he exists all day, every day. So for me, it works. You follow? Because I believe in it and I believe in him. And guess what? Today, I'm not ashamed of that. I'm definitely not. I'm not hurt by it either, in a way where I'm a suffer from it. Because I know it was a time of my life that I was suffering myself. Do you follow? In a time of my life that I was out there doing things that with no encouragement, with nobody there to work, help me, and all, and decisions that I was making just because, you know what I mean? And that unfortunate thing happened, I'm not ashamed of it. I am not, you know what I mean? What I am is, I thank God that my son got the answer that he was looking for, because this was bothering him in his soul, that he had no communication, connection of anything with his alleged father. You know what I mean? And that's something that he wanted, and when he came through me, I told him, no, we took tests, everything. I just couldn't believe that the test came back negative. You know what I mean? But today I am grateful that I know that. I am so grateful that I know that. And yes, I talked to the alleged father. I talked to the father. You know what I mean? And I pray for them and hope everybody is going to be okay with that. But most importantly, I have to be okay. And some people feel like, that's selfish. Well, I have to be selfish. You're not sick like I am. You don't share this disease that I have. This is how much I believe in my recovery. This is how much I believe in these 12 steps. This is how much I believe in staying clean and being grateful for having my sanity. I didn't make that happen purposely. I didn't know that it even exists. You know what I mean? But I am grateful that things has come to a whole and a head. And everybody is an individual, and everybody has to have their God or their higher power and ask him to make them strong through all of this. You follow what I'm saying? I'm just grateful that he gets time to know that and to share time with his biological father. You know, so I put it as other things behind it that has me, you know, sad about some things, and I'm still working on that because of his son, my grandson, and his father's granddaughter now have children. You follow what I'm saying? And all this was unknown. You know what I mean? So my prayers go out truly to those children. You know what I mean? And how this could even happen, but it did. You know? And I can't act like it didn't and it's okay. For me, it's not. You know, they tell me, you know, Mom, is cool, it's gonna be all right. Now, I know when God gets the hands of it, then I know that it is. You know, but coming off of that and making a story, just letting you know how honest I'm gonna be about whatever, you know what I mean, and how I'm gonna use my 12 steps and you know, my information on how to stay clean and what I have to do, you know what I mean, and not allow disease to that I know is cunning, baffling, and powerful to take me back out. To take me back out. I want to say this real quick today too. Today is my husband's birthday and my sister's birthday. Paul, you still here?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Come so I can say happy birthday to you on live.
Thank you. Coming back.
Come on. Back. So I can say happy birthday. He don't like this kind of stuff. He don't do this kind of stuff. Come over here. Y'all, let's send some hearts and say happy birthday to my husband. This is Poe. Most of you know Poe. I put a post up for you too. You probably got over 1,000 people already, you know. So let's just send Poe some hearts and say happy birthday to you, Poteek.
Thank you.
All right, he said I give y'all more attention. Give me a kiss. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
All right. First time for everything, ain't it?
Yeah. I think somebody said that.
It's the first time for everything.
I think somebody said you sent me this post. Oh, yeah. By you.
Yeah. It's a lot of people on that post. Everybody know you. You know? I appreciate all my people who send me hearts and recognize, you know, and recognize me. You know, you part of me. They need to recognize you too. You know? He said I give y'all a lot of attention. You know? But yeah, so that's searching moral, fearless and moral inventory. I had to be fearless with that. And when that situation started out, y'all, I feared it, you know, but now I'm fearless with it, you know, because I accept it, which God allowed me to accept the things I can't change. I can't change it, you know, courage to change the things I can. I have that, you know, that, you know, like I said, is accepted, you know, and I have the wisdom to know the difference, you know, that this happened. I'm sorry that it happened that way, but I can't change it. You know what I mean? I can only give it to God, you know, and be happy for my son, you know, and still respect his alleged father, you know what I mean, and his stepsis brothers, you know, and his family, you know. But life don't stop though. It don't stop me from living. You know, it does not stop me from living, and it's not strong enough today to allow me to get stuck in with my subconscious mind called disease, and to have me to become dis-ease in my life again. You know, so telling the truth is all right with me. Telling the truth, I love it. Living in my truth, I'm telling you, it makes me feel so good, and it makes me love me even more, you know. And the way that we use the word selfish is just that way. Not a selfish way where I think I'm better than you. No, I'm better than what I was. You know what I mean? I'm stronger than what I was. You know what I mean? And I love who I am and who I became. And there's nothing wrong with that, So, at that point, we learn to, admit to God and to ourselves and other people, like the exact natures of our wrongs. That's step 5. And just that story I just told you, speaks for that. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to other human beings the exact natures of our wrongs. I wasn't wrong for doing what I did because I didn't know there was no wrong in it, but I can accept why some people would look at it that way. You know what I mean? Wisdom to know the difference. See, that's what I'm saying. These powerful, powerful tools that I have from the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous, I tell you, it saves me every time. It saves me every time. And I'm going over these steps, right now, because of, of us, addicts and alcoholics. It's holiday time, and I just want us to get right back where we start from step 1 to step 12, to keep our strengths and hopes up and to stay alive through these holidays, and to remember all these things and all that we went through, and how we earn these awards that we have with ourselves, to have that wisdom to know the difference and to stay alive, and to keep the armor on, because this is the time that disease becomes strong. You know what I mean? It get in your head. You start thinking all kinds of stuff. With that situation, I was thinking all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? But it's okay. It's okay today, because I'm not trying to lie about anything. I'm not trying to, feel sorry or put myself down for anything. It wasn't deliberately done, and whether it wants to be believed or not, I know God knows. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. My suit of armor is on. That's all I'm trying to say, And then we were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. You hear what I'm saying? I was talking about that too. You know what I mean? Before I say, man, F you, I don't give a F. You know what I mean? I don't care what nobody think or how they feel. Well, it did, or it happened, what? You know what I mean? Well, I do care about what people think today. I do care how I feel about things today. I do want to get down to the solutions of whatever the situation may be, but first with myself. You know what I mean? I got to get all these things down in check with me, before I could do it with anybody else. So I thank God for Tracy. I thank God for this Tracy, and Trey ass is in remission. You know what I mean? Because I wouldn't have handled that very well if I hadn't made change in my life. Believe that. I wouldn't have gave 2 smacks, and I would have said F it, and it wouldn't have made a damn bit of difference to me. Okay, let's live with it. But that's not how I think about it. That's not how I wanted to deal with it. You know what I mean? Plus disease kicked me in the head about it any daggone way. And it got in my head and would start going all in circles on me. You know what I mean? So I had to come to this. I had to come to these 12 steps. I had to work in my life. I had to get into the process, you know what I mean, of recovery from the beginning, and to keep me alive and to keep me on top of my game. This is how much I love recovery, y'all. This is how much I love me, because the more I love and the more I adjust to this normal way of living, actually, you know what I mean? I feel great. I feel better. I feel great. And I feel so blessed. I am blessed by the best. I really am, and so are you, for being here, listening to me, talk this talk, you know what I mean, and helping me to walk the walk, whether or not y'all realize that or not, and to help others and help others save their own lives, not even through the addiction of what I was going through situations that I had in my life that I share with you that a lot of you had in your own. You know what I mean? Look, change is constant. There's nothing constant but change. And if you want to make change in yourself, I promise you, if you just read these 12 steps, you know what I mean, for any given thing in life, they can help you. They can help you, because I tell y'all, this thing is definitely based off of religious program. Trust me. Definitely. I promise you that they are. You know, but it's like it's explained to me. I can accept this easier. I can get into this easier. I can hear it easier. I can understand it easier. For me, it's like it's all broken down. You know what I mean? All broken down into 12 steps, and it's up to me to live and believe and to pray and to love God for everything that He has done for me. It is beautiful. It is really beautiful. Hey, Rabia. Hey, Rabia, don't forget, every time you come on, post that book, girl. Rabia is writing, doing big things. She's writing books, y'all. You know what I'm saying? And she's always helped people. From the day that I met her, all she was doing was helping people. I tell you, God connect people with people for good reasons. You follow what I'm saying? And she is one who I love. I love me some Rabia. You know, so Rabia, put that information up about your book. And I got word to pick with you too. I didn't know you was down here, you know what I mean, signing books and everything, and I didn't know nothing about it. Okay, I'm going to call you on that. I feel good today, y'all. I really do. I feel good today. I feel so good. I'm glad that I came on. You know, I said I'm going to start doing some of these pop-ups, but I wanted to get through these 12 steps. You know what I mean? And so, when I admitted to God and to myself and to other people, you know, the exact nature of my wrongs, I just started feeling light. I started feeling better. You know what I mean? I just started getting a different feeling about myself. You know, I started, you know, feeling humble, you know, getting honest. You know, that step 5 starting to allow me to feel good, you know, and it's okay that I can share these things and talk about these things, you know, today. And then step 6 is we entirely ready to have God remove all our defects of characters, y'all. Oh my gosh. Things just started popping out of me left and right. All the bad things I thought, all the things I didn't care about, all the ways that I was, you know what I mean? All that stuff just started just disintegrating, you know what I mean? And my emotions from disease just started, just started getting weaker because I was fighting, you know what I mean? And I was learning all these things, and I started getting my power back. I started getting my strength back. You know what I mean? Because, see, I came in to believe all these things, you know what I mean? And I just did what it told me to do, you know what I'm saying? And as I follow these steps in the steps of how they come from 1 to 12, here we are. I have myself today, you know what I'm saying? And I'm loving on me, and I'm loving on me enough to love on you. And I'm praying and I'm hoping and I'm trying to help people who's just like me save themselves. You know what I'm saying? In a way that it was given to me under the influence of a drug and alcohol addiction. Thank God. I thank God. I thank Him so much. You know, and as I do today, I'm still working on my defects of character, y'all, because nobody's perfect. You know what I mean? And anything that, you know, people could say to me, if I feel as though that is real, that is right, and is good, or even if you're looking at things, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. You know, I'm going to check myself out. I'm going to take step 4. I'm going to take a personal inventory on myself. You know what I mean? Because I could be missing something that you see. You know what I'm saying? And just for protection of me, I'm going to check it out. I ain't got a problem with it. I'm going to check it out. You know? So, I asked God to help me, and during the step 6 didn't say humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. I'm telling you, it just built me up so much. It did. It just built me up so much. And then the things that I was asking for, you know, they didn't happen right away. But guess what? It did. Just dealing with everything one day at a time. That's another important thing. It taught me how to live one day at a time. And the reason that I came to believe that is because everybody has one day. Everybody in this world gets a day. A day starts with a second, then it becomes a minute becomes an hour, and an hour becomes a day, and on and on and on to the year. And the years add up, starting all over again with just one day. I believe in that. It's real. I mean, it's nothing crazy about that. It's real. You know? So that helped my strength in finding and praising and loving my God. You know what I mean? Because he's the controller. He controls it all. It all just makes sense. It makes so much sense now. You know what I mean? And I believe in it 150% because it's real. It's reality. You know? And then I had to make a list of all persons and peoples who I harmed. You know what I mean? That was a hard one. You know what I'm saying? And become willing to make amends to all of them. I'm still making amends to people today. Some people I don't see. Some people ain't even around no more. You know? I don't even know some of these people that I did certain things to or with. You know? I don't know. I do the best that I can in who I do know, you know, and what I could remember from who everybody was, you know. Some forgive me and some don't. And I was told that would be a possibility, you know. But I feel today like, you know, things that I done 40 years ago, you know, and you can't forgive it, you need to find God and ask God, you know, to help you to learn how to forgive. Okay? Because God still, you know, gave us each a day. You know? And my day is to strive to get better. I don't know about yours. You know what I mean? But it's okay today. You know, I still pray for them. You know? I stay away from them. I don't have to be around them. You know what I mean? And I know who they are. Just like they know what I've done. You know what I mean? But I ask for amends. I'm sorry for all the things that I did in my addictive lifestyle. You know, that's not who I am today. When we say that, they'll say, oh yeah, you the same damn person. Well, I mean, okay, I'll give you that one. You know what I mean? No, I'm the same body of the character that did what they used to do, but today I live differently. See, today I live with God in my life. Today I understand my higher power. You know what I mean? Today I follow the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous, and I forgive me. You know what I mean? I'm just asking you forgive me for whatever it was that I done. You know what I mean? And if you can't be forgiven, I'm sorry. That's you. You know what I mean? But I still forgive you for that. I hope I understood what I said when I said all of that. But that's just how I feel. You know, I gave it to God. You know, and if you're a God-forsaken person, you will receive that. You follow? You will receive that. I can't change what happened. I can't change what I've done, but I can change who I am today. You know what I mean? And it's only right that I make amends to you and ask you for my forgiveness. And if it's not accepted, life goes on, though. You know, because I really am making amends. You know? So, hey Renee, how you doing? You know, then, you know, step 9 said, may direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. That's what that means. Some people just hated it. You know what I mean? Some didn't. Some, you know, we fine and we good today. You know what I mean? I can't bring back yesterday. You know what I mean? Yesterday is history for me. Today is today for me. And I hope it's the same way for you. You know what I mean? And I just pray to God, you know, and continue to do right by myself, you know what I mean, and to do right by people, you know, and that's all I can do. You know, that's all I can do, you know, because God has forgiven me, and that's the most important person. You know what I mean? And that's the person that I believe in, and who has given me this walk to live a better normal lifestyle, you know, and accept the things that I can't change, but He changed the things that I can. And that's just what I'm doing. And that works for me, you know, and I know I have a forgiving God. So I'm just hoping, you know, for anybody that hasn't, you know, accept, you know, my apologies to whatever I have done in my addictive lifestyle, you know, to them, around them, or for them. You know what I mean? I'll just pray for you, you know? And then it's 10 is continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admit it. That's what I'm doing. You know what I mean? I just went through that, you know, with you guys. And then step 11 says, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understand Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. And that's exactly what I'm doing when I say I walk the walk and talk the talk. And I promised my higher power that if He will help me get this back together again, that I would always give it back. And I have not broke that power, that promise yet. You know, and today I still go on with that promise that I made to God. And hopefully tomorrow I will still be able to do the same thing, but that's not here. You know what I mean? Yesterday I did the same thing. And today is the most important day, and the most blessed day is that one day at a time, you know. And my heart is full with love, you know, for me, for people, for places, you know what I mean, and things, and to help the still suffering addicts and alcoholics today, and the families of addicts and alcoholics today, and the people who don't know nothing about how this thing really works, and for the people who don't believe in this thing. I ain't gonna leave them out. You know what I mean? It's because it's for me, and it's what I have to do, and it's what I promised my higher power that I would do. And for as long as I stay on track, as long as I stay on God's will, I'm going to be okay. And so the people who are being blessed right along with me, you know what I mean? Disease always going to be in the way. And like I said, it comes through people, places, and things. And I'm so aware of that because I learned these steps. I'm so aware of that because I believe in the literature that comes with these 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous. You know, it taught me how to make rational decisions versus irrational decisions, and how not to feed into the voice that's in my head that I keep saying never goes away. You know, it's all about me. That voice is. That voice became me, you know, and I'm pretty much and very much aware of that because, see, I fight it today. I fight it today. And today I've learned the one powerful word of this medication towards this sickness of disease is one word, 2 letters, 1 syllable, and that's no. No means no by any means necessary. And I know I got the power to break it down and fight it down because them 12 steps keep me solid. It keeps me where I'm at, and it's going to continue to keep me where I'm at as long as I believe in them. You know, so step 12 come to having had a spiritual awakening. As the results of these steps, we try to carry these messages to all alcoholics and addicts, you know, and to practice these principles in all our affairs. So in all our affairs mean everything. You follow what I'm saying? Means everything. So I just gave myself to you guys a full description of who I am today. You know what I mean? And why I am still here and still doing what I'm doing far as staying alive and staying away from drugs and alcohol. You know what I mean? It's just implanted in every bit and piece of my mind and my heart. You know, this is why it's so important for me to keep disease where it's supposed to be, in remission, and understand that it can only be in remission because it's me. It's the choices and decisions that I made, the invitation that I allowed drugs and alcohol to come in my life. You know what I mean? And it promised me that I was cool with it, and it made me feel real good, and it ended up making me crazy as a boot. You understand what I'm saying? Like to kill me. You understand what I'm saying? So, oh yeah, I'm scared of it. And when it comes to these holidays, all of us have to be aware that disease is cunning, baffling, and powerful. And it is there, and it is lurking, and it will always be with you. So please, 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 if you have this information, you know what I mean? Get back into it. Start reading it. Keep yourself strong. Fill yourself with all the medication that you need to take every single day. Because sometimes we miss some of this medication. You know what I mean? And when we miss some of these medications, things start changing. You know what I'm saying? You just have to be alert. You have to be alive. You have to be aware how this disease works in us. In us. Please, I pray for everybody today. I pray for this world today. You know what I mean? But I put a special prayer up for the still suffering addicts and alcoholics today, because you know not. You know what I do at this particular point. You know, but I know that I don't care how long you've been getting high, how long you've been using drugs and alcohol, you can win. You can change. You hear me? You can change, because these steps right here will help you to do so. You know, if it's the Bible, or if it's the Quran, or whatever, get in it. Get in it. Surround yourself around people that loves you enough to be honest with you. To be honest with you. Who've been riding with you through this whole recovery. They can't change you. They can't make you stay clean. But they love you. And they hope that you do. They hope that you continue to make it through all these crazy disease days. You know, because I don't care how long we clean, disease gonna always let you know it's still there. So never get comfortable. Never think that it's gone, because it's always there. It is you. It is you. And it is that sick animal called conscience that broke in and broke our brains up into all these little tiny puzzle pieces and shut our emotions down so we can be definitely on the cray-cray side. It's there. And don't ever forget the work that it took to put the pieces to that puzzle back. And don't forget that when the pieces to the puzzle came back, you see a whole new you. You feel a whole new you. You are a whole new you from what you was under the influence. Under the influence. You've moved from the devil's advocate to God's child, as we are, and how we all start out in life when he gave us life and gave us all life. You know, this is just Tracy Allen living in her truth, sharing what she feels, offering the information and the education on this crazy sickness that I live with, that I see destroys, that I walk with, of the destruction. And now my life is under construction. It's getting better. I've gotten better. I despise this stuff. I don't knock anybody. But I can't talk about this sickness. I can't talk about the trickery of disease, even if it makes you feel good, even if it makes you feel like you have it under control. This is just me. This is just how I feel about it. So that don't make me turn against anybody who's socially drinking and doing what they do, and how they do it. I just know that I can't do it. I am not strong enough. I'm very weak when it comes to that type of situation because it almost took me out. And all of it came from consistently getting high and drinking. I wasn't built for it. I wasn't strong enough for it. I could surrender to all of it. I played the game for a long time until the time just came where I had to surrender. And I'm so grateful and I thank God that I did. And I just want to open this and close this off with you guys with the fact that holidays can be crazy. Holidays can be the perfect timing for disease to shout out at you again. You know what I mean? People, places, and things, and the celebrating, and all that kind of stuff has to be really picked out and make the wise choice. Stay aware, stay alert, stay alive. You know what I mean? And if anybody who knows somebody, you know what I mean? You let them know what you seen. Watch this replay with them. You know what I mean? Pull out the 12 steps. You can look them up. They'll come up on on these phones. You can get anything on these phones today. Hell, you can get to tell you what a pill is and what it's made of. Look it up. Look it up. Just pull up the 12 steps. Pull up NA. Pull up AA. It's all there. It's all there. Talk with them. Be with them. You understand what I'm saying? Love on them. That's loving on them. You know what I mean? Don't get on their nerves. You know what I mean? You know when enough is enough, or getting on a nerve is getting on a nerve. Express love. Because at this particular time, we need it. We need it. We need a friend. We need the loved ones. You know what I'm saying? Because the struggle is the struggle, and the struggle could be going on with a straight face, and you won't know nothing about it. But the addict will. You follow? It'll show you totally something else. And you'll still be fine with it. Always be aware and always be alert. And I'm not telling you jump on them, or to say you all right, I'm just checking, to make sure you're all right. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. The disease is at its strongest point, just from words. That's what I tell you, words are vicious. And you won't hear them like we will. This is why I'm here. This is why I'm on here. And this is the reason why I called this pop-up live today from Living in My Truth. I just wanted to go over those 12 steps, and I wanted to share them with everybody who watches this live and give you some more information and education on them, because it's something that we should always do. And I'm always going to come back to the 12 steps and talk about the 12 steps, especially when it's needed. Not that it's not needed every single day. You know what I mean? But like I said, some of us do things one way and some of us do things another. So when my heart, and my spirits tell me, Trace, come on, go on and I was supposed to come on here for a few minutes, y'all, and talk about being aware and alert of disease on the holidays, and that no means no by any means necessary, and always wear your armor. You know what I mean? Pick and choose the right people, places, and things that you want to be around. You know what I mean? Even if it's family, even if it's friends, even if it's loved ones. You know what I'm saying? Protect your armor. Protect yourself. If you want to live and keep living and keep loving God and servicing Him in the way that He have us service, you know what I'm saying? Keep on doing what you know you need to do or you have to do. You follow? I love everybody. I'm so glad that you guys came on and, and that I stayed on. You know what I mean? I will be having some pop-ups like this, more. I told y'all that I would do that. And I'm coming back on with my boutique too, because I got to get my L&T together and to be ready and to know what I can do, how much I can do. You know what I mean? I already know why I'm doing it. You know what I mean? And I already know that it's going to be fabulous and a beautiful time. And it's going to honor those who come on and share their strengths and hopes. You know what I'm saying? I hope a lot of you more will come to the award show, when we get there. And y'all can send me stars. Please do that. You know what I mean? I need them. I'm not going to tell you that I don't. I do need them, just for the contents of this live, And if you want to send a donation, I'm going to put my Cash App on there. I don't care if it's 50 cents or $1. All can help. You know what I mean? Let's help people. Let's continue to bless people. You know what I mean? Because this is what I feel as though I'm doing. I'm blessing people, because I've been blessed. you know, and I love blessings. You know what I mean? I live for them today. And I'm going to put my Cash App on if you want to send a donation. I'm just writing it out, y'all. I can't text all fast like everybody. You know, did I send it off? I'm not sure. Oh, I'm sorry. See, I get to hitting stuff, y'all, and then things turn out all crazy. I'm just going to send it just like it is. I was trying to put some hearts and all that good stuff on there, but it didn't come through for me, you know. So, hey, Bev, I just seen your name. Sis, what's happening? You know, Kathy Johnston, hey, Edwina, how you doing? Hey, Sandy, Butler, hey, Elsie, Stacy. Oh, thank you. Mary, hey, y'all. I'm so glad all of y'all came on. I really am. I was just in the spirit today and in the feelings today, you know, to talk about this thing a little bit. You know, again, you know, if y'all want to send me a donation, there's my Cash App, you know, and that's for the celebration of recovering addicts and alcoholics, you know, and the strong people who come on and share their strength and hopes, you know, with everybody. Or you can send me stars here on the live. You know, I would appreciate that as well. That also helped me in another era of content, you know, to stay on here and continue to do what is being done. And everybody, you know, that do have a drug problem or alcohol problem, I'm going to put this up here so you can kind of see it. You know what I mean? And you can call this number that's down on the bottom or go to that website. And if you want to, you could take a shot of the thing right here on the back, you know. So I'm going to leave that up there for a minute, you know, in case any of you are taking a shot of this, you know, for your loved ones or for yourself. You know what I mean? That's at least one I can give you right now, just in case, you know, anybody is going through any hard times or trying times with their recovery around this holiday time. You know what I mean? And just to know that that number is 215 NAWORKS, NAWORKS. So, which the numbers I believe is 215-629-6757. You know, this is one that I believe is in Chester. You know what I mean? I'm starting to gather up a lot of different NA meetings, you know, and programs. You know, pretty much I'm going to start going into the physical meetings myself again. You know what I mean? I'm trying to locate some down here. And it's not many in Chester. I can't find them. You know what I'm saying? So if anybody had that information for me, you can give that to me. You know, and I know that the meetings are always, I just got a meeting list, and I'm going to go over them, but a couple of places that was on there no longer exist. You know what I mean? So I don't know if I have the very updated list, but I'm sure enough going to try to get my hands on it, you know. And if anyone is having a hard time or a bad time, you can always messenger me, and I'll do the best I can to get to who or whom, of anyone who has messenger me, you know what I mean? Or if you have my number, thanks, Mary, love you. Thanks for the star. Anybody else? I mean, yeah, it's the star, right? Anybody else that wants to send me a star, I really appreciate it. And if I can help you, you know, I will. You know, I'm going to pray for you anyway, you know, and always. And I hope y'all keep coming back to Tracy Allen, Living in My Truth. You know, the information works if you work it, you know. And I thank everybody for coming on and listening to me, you know, and y'all look, I'm pray for me with these daggone sister locks too. You know what I mean? It ain't all what I thought it was gonna be, but I'm trying to work the process. That's why I got these 12 steps, because it helps me with everything. Y'all know how I feel about my hair. I feel like it's all bald up here, but that's all gray hair, y'all. And I do want to go gray. You know what I mean? So I'm praying to keep these daggone locks in my head every day. Believe me when I tell you that. You know? And I'm going to be strong, and I'm going to do just what they say do. Go through the process. The process that I went through to become clean and sober, you know what I mean? Took me a minute, so I'm going to look at this the same way, y'all. But it's so funny because I look at it and be like, I can't do this, you know? But if I keep telling myself I can't, I won't. You know what I mean? If I keep telling myself I can, I will. Thanks again, Mary. I love you so much. Thank you so much. Mary is one who's been following with me, you know, for years. We work at the same facility. And she is such a great, great, loving nurse. Believe me, she loves her job. And it is not simple to work sometimes where we work. But this girl is loved, you know, and I admire her. I admire you, Mary. You do a great job. And just admiring you allows me to love me even more, because I try to do the same thing. Her heart is so pure when it comes to her work life, even in her life, period. She's such a giving person. I really appreciate you. I'm not just saying that because you sent me stars. You know I'm crazy. You know what I mean? Like to laugh all the time. But she is a beautiful person. And when I tell you she helps people, she helps people. That's why I love her so much. It really is because her heart and soul is in what she do, and she understands it. That's the most important part. So Mary, you keep doing what you're doing, honey, and keep being who you are. You are a beautiful, beautiful person. Beautiful person. I just had to say that, you know, to you. Mary supports me. I don't care what I do. This girl supports me. You know what I mean? As I will with her. You know what I'm saying? But I just love her just for who she is. You know, and anybody else out there that knows her knows the same thing. But I'm going to get off here, y'all, because I think I've been on here for a minute. I ain't tired. You know what I mean? I just want to send a love and a shout out to all still suffering addicts and alcoholics today to stay strong. You know what I mean? And if you guys have anybody that you know that's in this type of situation, pull them together for the holiday. Let them see living in my truth. You know what I mean? Let them hear some real raw stuff. You follow what I'm saying? Because some people scared of coming into the room. Some people scared of hearing the truth because the way it's always sent to them. You know, the way some people talk, the way you act towards them can turn them against, you know, you, or thinking that they can be helped by you. You know what I'm saying? You know, so just share living in my truth with them. And when you get off today, please push the share button. Please push the share button, because I'm telling you, there's so many people that needs this. It is so many people who will be grateful that you sent this live on, you know, so others can hear the truth and others can help themselves, or even think about, you know, surrendering, or think about, you know, going to a rehab, or think about wanting to change their lives. That is the first step. That is one of the most important things. So know that when you come on and when the live is off, just share it, please. I'm asking you to share it. And I'm going to leave off with the serenity prayer, y'all. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. God's will, not ours. Have a blessed holiday, y'all. Please have a safe holiday, you know. And I will pop up again before the holiday. Thank you.